So does the hoof determine the landing? That honestly is a loaded question because of course it does. There's no way that it can't. But that doesn't always mean that it's the hoof that's the issue. Sometimes it's body issue, joint issues, tendons, muscles, everything plays a part in the way that a horse moves and how the feet connect with the ground. So this is a wild stallion, and I figure he's about 4 or 5 years old. And I know the bottom of the picture is cut off a little bit, but you can tell that he is pretty much landing right on his heel bulbs, which is insane. But he's got a nice stretch there too. We were actually in the truck while I was taking pictures and he was trotting down the side of the road. So it was pretty neat. So the trim really does matter. This is the same foot before and after trim, and you can see how forward this foot is and that this horse is actually landing right here. And after the trim, the horse is landing closer to the back of the foot. So with the toe being long and the heel being that far forward, this horse had no choice but to land toe first. You can even see the changes in the hairline from one picture to the next. So when you look at the coronary band to the ground, you can see a little bit of a dip right in here. It's very minute. I can see it. I don't know if you guys can or not, but maybe it's something that I really look for. But what that tells me is that there's too much pressure here and it's stretching the white line and the lamina on the lower portion of the foot. And here it's a smooth transition all the way down. And that's because we've taken that pressure off. So now everything can go back into place. And this really affects the way that they move because this is tender for them when that starts to stretch like that. So bringing the foot back, not only in the toe, but in the heel, changes absolutely everything in the foot and changes the way that they land. Because now this horse, as long as the digital cushion and the frog are healthy, then this horse can start landing on its heel. If it's not, if those soft tissues are not developed, then it will take time and they will continue to toe first land until this builds up. Okay. So here's the bottom view of the same horse, and you can see the bar is actually pushing the wall out. So we've got some flaring on this side. But imagine this horse trying to walk. So it would have walked very unbalanced because it's walking more on this side because this side is too painful to walk on because of the bar pushing the wall out, and it'll be tender because of the stretched white line and lamina on the flared side. So when you bring it back and you balance everything out, it will take time for this to come back into where it's supposed to. This will always be a little bit bigger on this side than it will on the medial side. That's the way that most feet are. And that's just 100% normal. But when you change that, look at the change in the heel bulbs. These are all crinkly and they look like elephant skin, and then they smooth out. And that's because now the heel bulbs are able to expand. And then sorry, I just got a text message. I'm just going to flip my phone over so I can't see it.
So what's the time period between these two shots?
This is right before the trim, and this is probably about a half an hour later after the trim.
Wow.
These changes are immediate. So this also happens with cadaver feet. It doesn't have to be a live hoof to see changes, which Kevin, you will get to see firsthand at the clinic, and it is very, very cool to watch. And you can see it step by step if you're really paying attention. So that'll be exciting for you to see next weekend, or this weekend. Yeah, it's this weekend, isn't it? Holy smokes.
This weekend, yeah.
So here's a different foot, and here you can see that this heel is actually underrun. See how far forward that is and the angle that it's at, and then how it's pulling the, pushing the, not pulling, pushing the toe forward as well. But it, just because of the circumstance and the way this horse had been previously trimmed, it wasn't truly an underrun heel. Once you brought those heels back, they're no longer underrun. So this is a false underrun heel. The ones that are truly underrun are the ones that literally the hoof grows forward and it takes months to change that. That is not a quick fix. This one was. It's just because of the placement of the heels, the contraction, the heels were actually starting to fold under the horse. So once we brought the heels back to where they were supposed to, then everything straightened out. So if you look here, look at the bulging here, and there's still a little bit here, but it's not as aggressive as it is in the pre-trim. So again, these are probably half an hour difference between the photos, half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. Any questions? This is actually something else that's really cool. See how thin it is right here? Now, if you look here, this has already started to build up. So that tells me that the digital cushion and the frog are now being engaged. Do you guys see that, or is it?
Oh, sure.
So here's the bottom view. You can see how far forward these heels are. So this horse is actually landing right here, which is beyond halfway down the foot. So this frog is extended forward. The frog should end right about here. So that means that the end of the central sulcus should actually be here. And that's about a third of the way down the horse's foot. And this is in front of that. And that's not a good thing. The heels could have been brought back more, but I'm a little bit cautious depending on the owners and the situation that the horse is in. Everything was very weak back here. So I did not bring the foot all the way back. And that's a judgment call. I would do that over time. As long as I bring it back most of the way and you can see the positive changes already, and that's what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be perfect when you're trimming. It has to be better than it was. And I cannot stipulate that enough. It's not about making it perfect. It's about making it better. So you can see here, the frog actually looks like it's about the right length here for the rest of the foot. But once you bring this foot back to where it's supposed to be, this frog is very far forward. And I know it doesn't seem like this has a lot to do with landing, but it really, really does. Because if you have an underdeveloped heel, this horse is not going to land heel first, no matter where the heels are. It needs to build this up. And you can see all the thrush in here because it was contracted here and now it's starting to open up. So now the dirt has an easier time escaping. Sometimes I will clean this out. It depends on the situation, again, whether it be the situation with the horse or the situation with the owners, because not everybody understands what you're doing. And I'll pretty much guarantee you the day after this trim, this horse was tender. I'm not going to say lame or really sore, just tender, because we have changed it so much, even though it doesn't look like we did a whole lot really. But it makes a huge difference. But you can see that the white line here is stretched. And it's also pulled, the sole is pulled forward. The sole is actually over top of the white line. The reason that the sole is, the wall is stretched and the lamina or the white line is stretched is because it was peripheral loading and this wall was too far away from where the sole is and it was pulling it apart. So that's really uncomfortable for them. And that will also truly affect the way that they move.